It was never about cutting out the carbohydrates. That is the lie we have all been sold. The fastest way to fix your blood sugar actually starts with what you add to your plate, not what you take away from it. I've seen this happen inside the exam room more times than I can count. Patients walking in with fasting numbers that make their doctors reach for the prescription pad. Patients told that medication is just the next logical step. And then, within days, their numbers start to fall. Not because they starved themselves, but because they started giving their bodies the raw materials they had been missing for years. I am Dr. William, and for the last 15 years, I've been piecing together a picture of metabolic health that most doctors simply do not have the time to explain. That rushed 12-minute office visit is not where real medicine happens. That is where damage control happens. What I am about to show you is the operating manual for your insulin receptors. But first, we need to understand the problem at its root. High blood sugar does not start with sugar. It starts upstream with a hormone called insulin. Think of insulin as a key. It unlocks your cells so glucose can get out of your bloodstream and into the cell where it belongs. When that system works properly, you eat, insulin is released, sugar enters your cells, and your blood sugar returns to baseline. But when you have spent years on the blood sugar roller coaster, something goes wrong. Your cells stop answering the door. The insulin knocks, and the cell stays shut. That is insulin resistance. Now, here is the part that should make you angry. Your pancreas sees that sugar is not getting into the cells, so it pumps out more insulin to compensate. More keys, more knocking. Eventually, the pancreas gets exhausted, and your blood sugar still climbs anyway. The standard medical answer is a prescription that pushes even more insulin into a system already drowning in it. I am not here to tell you that medication is never necessary, but I am here to tell you that there is no revenue in teaching a patient how to heal their own insulin receptors with food. There is no time on that 12-minute visit to explain how a tiny seed soaked in water can slow the flood of sugar into your bloodstream. So I am going to explain it now. Every single one of the 10 foods I am about to give you does one of 3 jobs. It slows the sugar coming in. It cools the inflammation that keeps your cells deaf to insulin. Or it wakes the insulin receptor back up. You do not have to do all 10 tomorrow. Add them in over the next couple of weeks. Stack them like building blocks. Let us begin with the first one. This is the one most people walk right past because it sounds exotic. But if you ignore this one, you are walking past one of the most powerful blood sugar tools on the shelf. Fenugreek seeds. Small, hard, amber-colored seeds you can find in the spice aisle. Here is what fenugreek does. The seed is packed with a soluble fiber called galactomannan. When that fiber hits the water in your stomach, it swells into a thick gel. That gel physically slows down how fast your stomach empties carbohydrates. The sugar trickles into your blood instead of flooding it. But fenugreek does not stop there. It also carries an amino acid that nudges your pancreas to release insulin more efficiently. In my practice, I have watched fasting numbers come down within a week on this alone. Here is how you use it. Take 1 teaspoon of the whole seeds and soak them in a glass of water overnight. In the morning, drink the water and eat the softened seeds before breakfast. If the taste is too much, grind them and stir half a teaspoon into yogurt. Start low. Your gut needs a few days to adjust. Now, the second food is probably already in your cupboard. But the kind you have matters. Cinnamon. The common grocery store cinnamon is called cassia, and it carries a compound called coumarin that is hard on the liver in large doses. The one you want is Ceylon cinnamon. It is safer to take every day. What makes cinnamon work is a group of polyphenols. These behave almost like insulin themselves. They help your insulin receptors grip glucose more tightly. Research from the USDA found that under half a teaspoon a day meaningfully lowered fasting glucose in adults with type 2 diabetes. Use about 1/4 to a half teaspoon of Ceylon cinnamon a day. Stir it into your oatmeal, your coffee, or your smoothie. Now, the third food is the most underused in this entire video. Broccoli sprouts. Not full-grown broccoli, the little 3-day-old sprouts. Broccoli sprouts are loaded with a compound called sulforaphane. The sprouts contain somewhere between 50 and 100 times more sulforaphane than mature broccoli. Sulforaphane does something none of the other foods do quite as directly. It goes to your liver and quiets down the overnight glucose factory. Your liver makes sugar while you sleep. That is normal. But when you have insulin resistance, your liver makes far too much, which is why you wake up with a high fasting number. A 2017 study from Lund University gave concentrated sulforaphane to people with type 2 diabetes and brought their fasting blood sugar down measurably. A small handful, about 1/4 cup, on a salad or sandwich most days is plenty. Do not cook them hard. High heat destroys the active compound. Eat them raw or barely wilted. Now, the next 4 are the ones that change the meals you are already eating. Avocado. Most people think of it as a fat to avoid. That fear is costing them. The fat in an avocado is monounsaturated fat, and it is one of the most blood sugar-friendly things you can put on a plate. That healthy fat and the fiber slow your entire meal down. When you add half an avocado to a plate of rice or toast, you are putting a brake on how fast that carbohydrate turns into blood sugar. The glucose climbs gently instead of spiking. Over time, monounsaturated fat has also been shown to improve insulin sensitivity. Half an avocado a day is a sensible amount. Put it on your eggs, mash it onto toast, or add it to a salad. Chia seeds. These tiny seeds are one of the richest sources of soluble fiber you can buy. When chia meets water in your stomach, it forms that same thick gel. That gel wraps around the carbohydrates in your meal and slows their absorption to a crawl. The sugar releases slowly, so you avoid the spike and the crash. But chia also carries a plant-based omega-3 fat that helps calm inflammation. 1 to 2 tablespoons a day does the job. Stir it into yogurt, drop it in a glass of water, or blend it into a smoothie. Fatty fish. Salmon and mackerel specifically. This one works on the deeper problem. The reason your cells went deaf to insulin. Insulin resistance is driven in large part by chronic inflammation. When your body is quietly inflamed year after year, that inflammation interferes with the insulin signal at the surface of the cell. Salmon and mackerel are loaded with 2 omega-3 fats, EPA and DHA. These are among the most powerful natural anti-inflammatory compounds we know of. They lower the inflammatory signals. The cell membrane gets healthier, and the insulin receptor starts working again. Aim for 2 servings a week: wild salmon, mackerel, sardines, and herring are all excellent. Canned mackerel and sardines are some of the cheapest, most powerful foods in this entire video. Walnuts. Of all the nuts, this is the one I point my patients toward first. Walnuts are rich in polyunsaturated fat and the same plant omega-3 found in chia. That fat improves the function of your endothelium, the lining inside your blood vessels, which is one of the first things high blood sugar damages. At the same time, the fat, fiber, and protein in walnuts blunt the rise in blood sugar after a meal. Eat a small handful as a snack instead of crackers or a cookie. About a quarter cup or 7 to 10 whole walnuts. Keep them raw or dry roasted. Eggs. Whole eggs, yolk included. For years, people were told the yolk was the enemy. That bad advice pushed folks toward sugary breakfast cereals that were far worse for their blood sugar. A whole egg is almost pure protein and fat, with virtually no carbohydrate, which means on its own it barely moves your blood sugar. But the real magic is the second meal effect. When you start your day with eggs instead of cereal, you steady your blood sugar all the way through to lunch. 2 or 3 whole eggs in the morning is a solid target. Scramble them, boil them ahead, or fold in some spinach. Apple cider vinegar. This is the one with the fastest visible effect on a glucose meter. If you have a meter at home, you can watch this one work tonight. The active ingredient is acetic acid. It slows your stomach from emptying, and it helps your muscles pull glucose out of your blood and use it for fuel. Research from Arizona State University found that a tablespoon of vinegar before a carbohydrate meal lowered the after-meal blood sugar spike by roughly 20%. Take 1 tablespoon. Dilute it in a full glass of water 10 to 15 minutes before a meal. Always dilute it. Never drink it straight. And if you take any medication for blood sugar, talk to your doctor first. Now the 10th food. Lentils. They are a carbohydrate, and they will lower your blood sugar. Lentils are built from a slow carbohydrate called resistant starch, wrapped in soluble fiber and plant protein. That combination means the glucose is released slowly and steadily over hours instead of all at once. Swapping white rice or white potato for lentils a few times a week is one of the most reliable ways I know to bring down an A1C. Aim for a half cup to a cup of cooked lentils a few times a week. Use them in a soup, a stew, or a cold salad with olive oil. Let me tell you about someone I will call Donna. 63 years old, came to me frightened because her fasting sugar was around 180 and her doctor wanted to add a second medication. She had watched her own mother lose toes and then her eyesight to this disease. We did not cut her carbohydrates. We added eggs and avocado in the morning, vinegar before meals, lentils instead of rice, walnuts instead of cookies, fatty fish twice a week, cinnamon in her coffee, broccoli sprouts on her sandwich. Within the first week, her numbers started dropping. Within 3 months, working with her doctor, she came off that second medication. Her A1C moved from diabetic back toward normal. 2 years later, it is held. She ate more food, just the right food, and her own body did the rest. Let me tie all 10 together. The fiber foods slow the glucose down. The fish, walnuts, and chia cool the inflammation. The cinnamon and vinegar help the receptor grip again. Do that meal after meal, and the cell that stopped answering the door slowly starts opening it on the first knock. That is what reversing insulin resistance means. Before I give you tonight's plan, one warning. If you are on insulin or a sulfonylurea, These foods can lower your sugar fast enough that your medication dose may suddenly be too high. Add these foods with your doctor watching your numbers. Do not stop any prescription on your own. Here is what to do tonight. 5 simple steps. 1. Tomorrow morning, replace your cereal or toast with 2 or 3 whole eggs and half an avocado. 2. Tonight, soak a teaspoon of fenugreek seeds in a glass of water and drink it first thing in the morning. 3. Buy Ceylon cinnamon and start a 1/4 teaspoon a day in your coffee or oatmeal. 4. Before your biggest carbohydrate meal tomorrow, take 1 tablespoon of apple cider vinegar in a full glass of water 15 minutes ahead. 5. This week, swap white rice or white potato for lentils at least twice, and put fatty fish on the menu 2 nights. Stack these in over the next 2 weeks. You are not removing the foods you love. You are adding the foods that protect you. Everything we did today brings your sugar down during the day. But a huge number of you have told me the same strange thing. Your highest reading of the whole day is first thing in the morning, before you have eaten a single bite. You fasted all night, and your sugar went up anyway. There is a specific reason your liver does that while you sleep, and there is a way to shut it down. I will put that video on the screen right now. Go watch that one next, and I will see you there.